It is a myth to believe that we'll find our authentic self after we have left behind or forgotten one thing or another. To make ourselves, to shape a form from various elements, that is the task of a sculpture. That's a quote by Friedrich Nietzsche, and it reveals what he means by overcoming yourself or becoming who you are. And he adds to that man cannot remake himself without suffering, because he is both the marble and the sculpture. And with that he actually nails it. That's the principal idea of our lives. Just think about it. You're the one wielding the chisel and also the one feeling every blow. And that's a direct echo of Nietzsche's deepest understanding of self-overcoming. And that's what we will uncover today in this video. And we will also discuss how this principle of becoming who you are applies especially in midlife and for midlife transformations. Now, the initial quote seems to be a little bit complicated to understand. Let's try to break it apart a little bit. Let's think for a moment about real transformation. Transformation usually has a price, right? And the most painful part of real inner transformation is actually coming from when you're working deeply on yourself. It's coming from spiritual growth or from character development, from breaking lifelong pattern or habits. This can be understood nicely by the sculpture marble metaphor. Because what you're actually doing in transformation is you're cutting away parts of yourself that you don't need anymore, that are a burden, right? That don't serve you anymore. And the most important part of that is that there's no external artist doing that to you. There's no coach or no teacher or nobody that helping you in this process. That means you have to do this to yourself. That's why also most people, or actually all of us, we don't really like that because we have to hurt ourselves in order to grow. And this growth actually happens every time you're facing a shadow that you've avoided for decades. That means you're chiseling your own marble. Every time you sit in an uncomfortable silence, when you're facing your anxiety instead of escaping, or when you decide to break an addictive pattern that has defined you. And of course it hurts because you're cutting away a part of yourself. And that's the paradox. We all want to have, to some extent, a different life, a different behavior. We all want to have the changed person, the modified person. But we don't like the process because the process usually always involves pain and suffering. And there's also nobody else that we can blame for our change. It's all our responsibility. So when Nietzsche talks about self-overcoming, he doesn't just mean to express your whims, but he means to deliberately transcending limits through your own will. And now if you just take a moment and think back when you had situations in your life where you really changed, and how did that feel? And I don't mean the feeling afterwards. Afterwards usually always it feels better, right? But before and during the process, it requires what Nietzsche calls self-overcoming. You need to overcome yourself to become better. And this is central to Nietzsche's philosophy. And that's also easily misunderstood, right? When I was younger, I also misunderstood this principle because I thought, okay, we're here today and there's like a final version of myself that I need to become. And that's my true self. But that's not what become who you are means. Become who you are means you're here today. Of course, you are who you are, but you're constantly reshaping and reinventing yourself. And every day you're becoming a new person. And that's not something that's predefined. Since you're the creator, you are deciding also about the direction in which you're going. So becoming who you are is a process. It's not a destination, and it will never be finished because you always can become a better self, even on your last day. And that's why you have to constantly question your habits, your values, and also the roles and the masks, the identities you have internalized without choice. And many people understand this truth when they're reaching their midlife. Because the first part of their lives, it's a phase where the chaos rules. You're the raw marble. You also want to grow and you want to learn. And you're also trying to test out a lot of different principles and a lot of different ideas that you, in a way, not all of them are your own ideas. Usually, in the first part of your life, we adopt a lot from our society, from our parents, from our friends, from our colleagues at work, from the way how society defines success. But once we reach midlife, we usually understand that the deeper truths are something we inherit already. And we start to depend less on external validation. And we have the opportunity to start to really work on ourselves, according to our own values, according to our own creativity. Now, let me be very honest with you. Many people are not doing that, and they're missing this chance. And that's what also society calls like a midlife crisis or an identity crisis in midlife. Because people come to that point where they have the opportunity to either define their own lives or to just continue to do what they always did. But that usually means they don't live to their fullest capacities. And many people also become lazy in midlife because they created already a life that's somehow comfortable, somehow it's not that bad. And now the act of going back and really cutting away parts of yourself, how we defined it earlier, is a hard decision to make because it involves this pain rather than to go the comfortable, the easy way. And that's why we stay in unfulfilling careers or in unhappy relationships. So Nietzsche criticizes that as herd morality, right? That's what the sheep are doing. They're just staying on the lane all day and eating the grass and, well, eventually waiting for the butcher. If we transfer this on humans, on people, we continue to live by unexamined rules. We just adapt standards of moral and we just continue to grow external stuff on our marble, on our raw material. For me, it was the same. I was working for 20 years in a corporate career in the semiconductor industry, and I was actually successful in a way. I achieved my goals, I climbed the corporate ladder, and in the beginning that felt great. But then when I reached my 40s, I figured out that it didn't give me the same satisfaction or fulfillment anymore. And I decided for myself I have to do something different. Now let's have a look how the self-overcoming works in real life. And just saying you need to actively look for challenges, to actively go out of your comfort zone. And these are usually things that you cannot implement easily. You need to create space in your life for such experiences. And they can be different for each person. And you should actually choose what fits you. Like if I look on myself, I created a lot of habits in my life. I have daily meditation rituals. But I also have less frequent, longer term, what we at a small reset call boundary experiences. For example, I'm going into multi-day, let's say 12 or 14-day water fasts. I'm going on long solitary runs or bike rides. I'm climbing mountains. So you need to look for this adventure. And this is something that usually, on the first glance, it sounds great and fun, but it involves a lot of pain. You have to push through fatigue, through headaches, through physical and psychological downs. But by that, you shape yourself. And I don't mean only physically your body, you shape also your mind. And the best part of it is that you get rid of a lot of shoulds, right? The shoulds of society. Like you should have a secure job, you should build a house, you should have a family, you should do this and that. But since boundary experiences involve also a certain kind of, well, let's say calculated, but there is some risk in that, that removes a lot of these shoulds. And you understand that actually you don't need them. The shoulds are what make you the sheep, if you follow them. Have you felt in this way before? That you cannot bear the shoulds anymore? And that you actually want to do something different, but everybody tells you you shouldn't? My recommendation today for you is just do it. And if you're in your midlife right now, let's say between 40 and 60, let me tell you, this is the time for you. Because in this age, we have collected already a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge. And we have, if we listen to ourselves, a pretty good understanding what we want and what we don't want. And that means you can choose your fate and you can choose your decisions and how your life should be much more precisely. Because you don't depend on external validation anymore. You don't need anyone anymore to tell you you're doing the right thing or you're doing the wrong thing. At the same time, you also have a lot of excess material that you don't need anymore. So start to take the chisel and start with one uncomfortable challenge today. Become your sculpture. Don't be afraid of the pain, because the pain will go away, but the fulfillment will stay. You're not convinced yet? So let's have a look on what happens if you ignore this call. Well, actually not much will happen. It just means you will stay a block of marble. And you will stay rough. And sometimes you will feel this quiet ache of untapped potential. It's like a subtle feeling of dissatisfaction. Let me be honest with you, I felt it many times. It's not something dramatic. Do you know this feeling of regret sometimes that you missed some opportunities? That's how it feels. The truth is, many people continue to live like that, and they're not really unhappy. But they're also not really fulfilled. So there's more. And once you understand that there's more, and once you feel there's more, and once you decided for the path, that you want to become your own sculptor, I can promise you there's no way back. Because you understand, it's so much more fun. It's so much better than just staying in your comfort zone and staying in your safe job. The problem with this feeling of regret is actually that you don't have it always. You just have it sometimes, but it accumulates. And I want you to do this short thought experiment. Think about a day in the future when you reach the end of your life and you're looking back on your life. What do you want to feel? And what will you feel if you continue your life as it is? Do you regret something? Or do you look back in happiness and say, okay, once again. Now if you make the decision, you want to make changes, how can you actually start? How can you become your sculptor? I recommend you to start with one question. Think about what layers of yourself, what parts of yourself were added by other people that are not truly yours. And which of them can you just chip away or cut away? And who are you beyond the roles that you were made to play? Who is your true self? If you start with that, yes, you will notice it will feel a little bit uncomfortable. But I encourage you to embrace this discomfort. Because the discomfort is a sign of progress. And once you get used to it, you will start to enjoy it. Like for example, I'm doing dream journaling. I'm writing down my dreams when I remember them. And you know it probably from your own dreams. Dreams can be very strange and very eye-opening sometimes. And in dreams, we often face the stuff we buried within ourselves. But the results I get from that, they weigh so much higher than this short feeling of discomfort. So I continue doing that. And if you decide living in this way, I promise you it will shift everything. It will change the way how you see life, how you see other people, but also how you see yourself. And by that, actually, every day you will become a new person, right? You will every day overcome yourself and you start the process of becoming who you truly are. And let me say one last thing about the pain. The pain you experience is not something bad. It's also not something good. It's just a pain. We give the pain the value. We judge it. We say it's good or bad. If you start to accept the pain as what it is just a feeling, right? You also learn to adopt the pain in your life. And in this way, you will also change the way how you see the pain over time. It will become a part of the ongoing art. And if you're now doubting that you can be your own sculptor, then just remember, I started from the same place. Many people before you started from the same place. It just starts with a decision. And the beautiful thing about this is you're not just the marble. You're not just the artwork. You become the entire act of creation. And that's something very profound. So just choose to keep chiseling. And always one strike at a time. And by that, watch how your authentic self takes shape. And with that, we're finished today. I hope that was in a way inspiring for you. And if you like that, if you're interested, and if you even want to get motivated more, subscribe to our channel. In the next week, I will share a few of my boundary experiences. And I promise you, these adventures will be very inspiring also for your journey. So keep chiseling. Have a great day. Bye.